guess it's my turn. So I literally sat down and wrote a valedictory this morning. For those of you who know me well, you won't be surprised that I leave everything to the last minute. I often do. But it's actually been quite hard to think of the words to say, because I wanted to start with thanking the person who gave me the confidence and strength to run for this role in the first place, but he isn't here. Now, but I did want you to know this. Rob didn't want me to run for mayor. He knew how devoted I was to my electorate, and he was confident that I could continue to make a difference as a Member of Parliament and potentially as a Cabinet Minister again. That's why he didn't want me to run for mayor. What I found out, though, was that, I was told by a sitting councillor early in 2013 that he had included me in a poll that he was running to test his own candidacy for the mayoralty. I don't know that we should be naming names, but some people will know who it was. Now, the result that he got back from his pollster was that he was certainly within distance, having not announced that he was running, he was certainly within a winning margin. He was behind the sitting mayor, but he was within a winning margin, and that they felt that they were confident that that with a campaign he could win the mayoralty. The poll results for me was that I was already well ahead right across the city. And I said to him, "Thank you very much, that's very kind of you to give me that information, but I'm not going to run. And I'll tell you what, I'm really happy to give you support for your campaign for the mayoralty. I'll back you 100%. So that was where things were left. Unfortunately, he pulled out for a number of reasons a couple of months later, and there was a lot of work that went on behind the scenes, and I just want to acknowledge all of the people who helped me run for office. I have to say, running for office for local body elections, but particularly for the mayoralty, which is across the city, not focused on one ward or one electorate, it's right across the city. It's quite a different campaign than anything I'd ever been used to, and the support I had was incredible. So I'd like to acknowledge all of those people, and they all know who they are in that regard. Running independently was important for me. I had a long history as a Labour Member of Parliament. I'm a life member of the Labour Party. None of that's ever changed. But I had to put that to one side if, for me, I was running for the mayoralty. I think the mayor has to sit in this place independent of being pushed or pulled in any particular direction from around the table. I think it's really important that the mayor reaches out and builds consensus where they can. But what was really important to me as well was having councillors that would support me transitioning from central government into the role of local government, because I hadn't served in local government before. Vicky Buck was key to the local government background, and particularly as a former mayor was invaluable to have her on board for the campaign. And Raf Manji gave me the confidence in the financial space I needed. Now, as it turned out, I needed a lot more of that than I realised that I was going to need when we faced what we faced when we arrived, and Andrew's already talked about that, and I won't go over the details again, other than to remind people of the $400 million hole in the budget disguised as savings to be found, an insurance claim nowhere near settlement, and massive commitments regardless of the insurance settlement, which meant the public had huge expectations of what to expect and no idea that we had no budget to pay for it. That's why the first term was based on getting the books back in order, and I think we were very successful in doing that, and I thank all of those who contributed to making that happen. I knew back then that the mayor needed to be someone who could reach out and unite a divided city. We were a divided city. I demonstrated that as a Cabinet Minister working on major reform on a bipartisan basis, working closely with the opposition spokesperson, who then became the Minister while I chaired the Select Committee completing the reforms I had started. That's my preferred model of working. It always has been. I've never wanted to take on major reforms without working in a collaborative way, whether it's been at council or in central government. It does mean compromise, but it also requires trust. And trust is something that's pretty hard to hold on to these days. I learned quickly that council was very different from government. Now, I remember asking John Key, who was the Prime Minister at the time, how it would be if Cabinet papers were published a week before the Cabinet meeting. There was ill-informed commentary on the decision you were going to make for an entire week. The Cabinet meeting was live streamed, and then the one person who disagreed led the news that night. And I said, welcome to my world. Now, he was quite surprised, and that's because central government doesn't understand local government. They don't understand that they can rely, or a Prime Minister can rely on Cabinet collective responsibility. A mayor can't. There is no such thing as collective responsibility other than by agreement. And agreement doesn't necessarily follow from a decision. Don't always get even unanimous ones that I'm expecting. I am not for 1 minute challenging the transparency and accountability that councils operate under. I think it's really important that the public can see in. But what the public need to see demonstrated in front of them is the depth and breadth of the study and the work that's gone into and lies behind making good decisions. Good decision making requires people to be well informed, well briefed, and well understanding of all of the options. That's what the Local Government Act requires of us, and not just for present residents, but for future generations as well. We have an intergenerational responsibility when we make decisions around this table. Now, I've always sought to find compromises. I've always sought those win-win outcomes that people have heard me refer to. And that's why I haven't always voted around the table. Sometimes people don't know that I haven't voted because there isn't a division called. But that's because the mayor needs to speak for the council decision regardless of whether they agree with it or not. That becomes the decision of the council, and the mayor becomes the spokesperson for it. Looking back over 9 years, bookended by the government's earthquake recovery model that put a government department in charge of major city functions, and a global pandemic which has disrupted the ambitious plans we had for this term, we've had to face serious challenges, and they've been spoken of: flooding, fires, and of course the tragedy of March 15. Although I'll never forget the 51 Shuhara, their families, and all those injured and affected by what they saw that day, it is the response that I will always hold dear to my heart, and something that represents the pride that I have in our city in times of crisis, the way we come together and support each other no matter what. And that's why COVID has been hard, so hard. We have found ourselves at a time of need, at a time when we need each other more than ever. We've found ourselves isolated, and that's what's made it so difficult. So, having said all of that, I have felt a real sense of privilege, having been the mayor of the city where I was born and raised. I feel that I have made a difference, and I want to thank all of the councillors who've supported me in my role over the past 3 terms. I also want to acknowledge the council staff, if others have as well. It's a strange world that says that we have one employee. The number of people who've said, "Hi boss," in the lift still makes me smile. I love it. But we around the council table do have responsibilities for the staff, because what we say and what we do and what we post on our Facebook pages can impact heavily on those who can't answer back. I've always taken my governance role seriously until the other day. I walked into the planning team after I'd been on morning report saying that I regretted that we couldn't notify a plan change to protect our trees. I said to them, I know that I'm not following process, but ever since I said that on the radio, I've thought to myself, could we? Could we do something? And they said, leave it with us. By close of play, I had an amendment which council approved the following day. I use it as an example of the people who walk into this building every day determined to serve their fellow citizens in the best way they can. I thank you for everything you do for us as a city. Thank you to the team that makes up the Office of the Mayor, the CIR team, the media team, the legal team, for a whole lot of reasons. And I did want to mention Ian Thompson, who's not with us, but he was such a special person who I could look to over there and see his smile and know that I was doing something really bad or something really well. But to all of you, I've appreciated your support. And thank you finally to the thousands of people who voted for me over the 3 terms, and also those who've offered words of support and encouragement as I go. It has been truly humbling to feel the level of support that I have felt. When I started, I said I had enormous optimism for the city, and I leave with exactly the same sense of optimism for our future. We have turned the corner. However, our experience over the last few years is a salutary reminder to everyone that you never know what lies around the corner. I wish the next Mayor and Council well, and good luck to all my colleagues putting themselves forward again to serve your communities and this amazing city and district. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Tēnā koutou katoa. It is my absolute pleasure to be able to respond to Leanne's speech on behalf of staff. This is, without a doubt, an end of an era. 3 terms, our Mayor has served this city. And the council, as she has quite rightly said, as have others, is very different from the organisation that you, Mayor, came into 9 years ago. Then the council's ability to plan for the future was hampered by continued uncertainty about insurance recoveries and escalating earthquake recovery costs. The council also had to budget an extra $10 million to improve consenting services so we could regain accreditation as a building consent authority. And to think that was at a time where the rebuild was really coming to life. And it's the biggest rebuild the country has ever faced. This was Leanne's starting point as Mayor of Christchurch, following an incredibly high-profile career in government, both as a Member of Parliament and, of course, as ministerial responsibilities too. And from day one, you have faced those challenges head on, not ducking once in those situations. With this background, we can all reflect on the tremendous progress that you have led this city through. Your term as mayor started while Christchurch was in the early stages of the 40 billion rebuild, and of course the challenges that that presented. Coupled with the city, we have confronted major flooding, obviously that flooding worsened by the earthquakes, the fires, the tragedy of the mosque attacks, and of course the pandemic that Leanne quite rightly spoke about. It is undoubtedly one of the most difficult periods in Christchurch's history, but we had a lady at the top of the heap who led that from the front. And both in tough times and not so tough times too. You can proudly say that Christchurch is now not only the oldest city, but the newest in New Zealand. Staff who have worked for you can recite your priorities, every one of which is about making the city a better place for our residents. In every issue that comes before you, your first query is often, and I'm sure the members will recognise this straight away, have we? And how have we communicated? Have we listened? Have we involved? Don't just consult, engage. Think like a resident. And undoubtedly, one of my favourites, which Leanne told me, I think, in week 1. If you're writing to a resident, or anyone in fact, say it in the first sentence, why they're actually getting the letter. Don't bury it in paragraph 8. Because by then, of course, the person's given up reading the darn thing. You describe your role as being here to serve. And you are the consummate public servant. And you have been over 30 years and undoubtedly will continue to be in whatever you do. And you have outlined how much we've achieved through your councils of the 3 years. So I thought I'd name a few. Turanga, which you speak of so eloquently all the time and every opportunity, and quite rightly so. The community centres and libraries in Sumner, Horswell, Bishopdale and Heathcote. The restoration of the town hall and the repairs to the art gallery. The review of the district plan when we got it back. Taiora, Te Po Toto, Ngā Punawai, progress on roads, water supply, and of course the progress on the Metro Sports facility, and now to Kaha 2. You can look back with pride on so much, and I think undoubtedly I know you have great pride in how you set up the Mayor's Task Force when the flooding hit the city. And that involved our residents, right on the coalface. You also recognise the need for the city to build resilience in the face of an ever-changing environment. And one of your first tasks as Mayor was to sign off our successful nomination to be part of the Rockefeller Foundation's 100 Resilient Cities Network. Again, your message. There are no such things as natural disaster. There are natural hazards, and the disaster is when they impact on people and their communities. And you have been recognised as a world leader in disaster resilience recovery and sharing all of that learning in Christchurch on a world stage. And I have no doubt that will continue. Many staff here are in the room, and I know they're watching as well. And they will miss you greatly. They talk about your intellect, about everything from planning and legal matters to civil defence, how you're solution-focused, and always about your passion for this city and its communities. Your commitment and undoubted joy when you do the city's ceremonies, citizenship ceremonies, and when you welcome migrant communities just shines out of you. And it's a lovely thing to see. You have earned mine and our staff's admiration and respect by walking the talk at all levels. And I have walked the streets in the city centre and elsewhere with Leanne, and complete strangers come up to her and say, "You're doing a great job." People she doesn't even know literally just walk up to her. And she's always very gracious in those situations. We know it's been a difficult time. in many ways, both professionally and personally. And the loss of your beloved husband Rob after his illness was devastating for you. But again, you earned our love and respect and admiration on how you carried on. Thank you, Leanne, for everything that you've done for this place, for this council, and for the residents. And we wish you the very best for your next chapter of your life, and best wishes for the future.
Thank you. Free at last.
It's not quite over yet, Mayor.
Oh.
Just when you thought it was over. We had a whip round, as councillors often do. Here is a gift and a card and another bunch of flowers as a token of our appreciation of your leadership and everything you've done for the council, for the city, and that you've been a great colleague to work with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kia whakaerea te tapu, kia wātea ai te ara, Kia turuki whakataha ai, kia turuki whakataha ai, homie, huie, tai kie. For the last time, I declare the meeting closed.